And while some people were calling for it, here's a beautiful thing. People have been saying Keynesian economics or printing money out of thin air is going to have bad side effects. They've always been shouted down. They've always been said they're kooks, that they don't know what they're talking about. Well, now it's no longer theory. Now we can watch an asset that cannot be diluted and you cannot counterfeit and print more of. And you've got 180 currencies out there that have no backing to it and they just can be printed more of. Now we can watch the free market do what they're going to do. And everyone can decide. And that's where the currency aspect comes in the sense of humans start looking around them saying, okay, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. They keep printing more, things are getting more expensive, real estate's more expensive, and all this crazy stuff's happening. And yet this random innovation that everyone has been saying is a scam continues to just chug along and maintain value.
Sometimes you have it on the corner of your desk and you're doing something else and you go, oh shit, oh fuck, I forgot about that,
So you don't like Rocketbook?
I hate it.
Do you guys?
Yeah. I used it last year. I didn't like it.
What is it?
No.
It's my second shot.
Get you closer to that mic.
It's my second try
Yeah.
with a Remarkable now. I'm getting more used to it.
Remarkable? What's that?
It's like a
Similar?
it's like a notepad, but it's more digital, and you can actually open up folders inside of it.
Oh, okay. It's like, okay. I know what kind of thing it is.
I'm all about paper-based.
Yeah,
I like
me
the
too.
paper.
But isn't it like an iPad, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, but just for notes.
It's like simple.
Just very simple.
Yeah.
It's like a Kobo.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of
Right, okay.
screen.
Okay, cool. Just so you guys know, we're live. So we're in recording.
Okay,
We're ready to rock
sweet.
and roll.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, we're ready already?
Yeah, we're in.
Oh,
I'm just going to start doing them like that from now on. Just get right into it, man. Have some fun. Fuck it.
I love
Okay.
it.
All right. So, talking Bitcoin.
That's it.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
How'd you sleep last night, man?
Not bad. My little
Don't
guy
lie,
kept me
man.
up.
It was shitty.
Yeah, it was shitty. I got
Why?
my
What
coffee
happened?
here though.
What happened?
I got my 6-month-old. He's going through sleep regression right now.
Sleep what?
Regression. Just sleeping less than he was even a month ago. Now he's just been keeping me up the last couple of nights.
I think I've heard that before. Sleep
But I don't
regression.
understand. You guys aren't putting the alcohol in the baby bottle?
No.
You're not doing that?
No.
What?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No, just got.
I guess
let him ride it out.
That's the old school
That's
trick.
old school. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. We got a soft world now, man. You throw
Yeah,
throw
right?
the alcohol in there.
Yeah.
You know what? Funny enough, off topic, we got into a huge thing years ago. My uncle we got Swiss Chalet. I'll never forget it. And he dipped. My cousin was teething. He dipped the pacifier and put on my cousin's gums. And some lady down the table saw him do it and
flipped out.
lost her shit. And we got into this whole kerfuffle in Swiss Chalet in Cambridge.
Yeah. People
Really?
I'll
Oh,
never
recently?
forget. Yeah. No. This is years ago.
Oh, years
This is
ago.
Years ago. He was
Okay.
my co-founder. Actually, he's a partner. So this was 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we did as a tradition when, I'm Jamaican, and when we were sick as kids, they used to put Ray nephews in the middle of our
course.
head, right in that soft spot.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Soak right in there. Next day,
Huh?
good.
Right.
I didn't know about that.
No.
I didn't know about
What
that
would you
one.
do?
Well, no, I mean, sometimes you have to mix the little alcohol in the
Cough syrup?
not the cough syrup, like either the drink that like the hot drink that you might have,
Yeah.
to help clear your throat,
Right.
right? You mix that in, right?
Okay.
And
it helped?
Well, I don't know whether it helped. I mean,
It made you feel good?
yeah, but like everything that we do, it's the same thing as when you say, if you go out in the winter, you're going to get a cold. It's not specifically because of the weather, the temperature.
Right.
It's simply because maybe you're not outside and now you've got, other sick people nearby you and so forth. Right. So, there's all types of things that we still run with, but they're not really factually true.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
No, I hear you. All right, let's jump into Bitcoin.
Yes, sir.
I got a shitload of questions that I want to ask you about
Okay.
Bitcoin. I know we were trying to get somebody in here to debate you on it, but you know what? We've got a lot of questions because I'm not completely sold on it.
Right.
Okay. So you know what? Let's just have a conversation about it. You're 100% in. I am maybe 75.
Really?
Yeah, about
Oh,
75.
goodness gracious.
What are you?
Oh gosh, like 25.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
we
might
have
be
a-
even on the high side for you.
Nah, well, I listen. I do have some Bitcoin, but
there you go.
Yeah, but you know what? It's
don't want to
useless. It doesn't do anything for me.
Okay, there you go. So what's your first?
Listen, I bought it up here like a fool.
Yeah.
And now it's down here. Just like everything else. I was riding the roller coaster too, and now I'm like, screw it.
Okay, so I think the first question then would be volatility.
Right.
I don't
I think-
even know if that's the first question. Like, what is it for? What? Okay, fine. We'll do volatility, and then we'll get into the real world uses or cases,
100%.
right?
Okay.
All right.
Because you got to convince him more than you got to convince me.
Well, it's not. No. I don't think it's convincing. I think it's just discussing it with amongst us, and we'll have different viewpoints, and the audience will decide what they decide. Right?
I never try to convince. At the end of the day, the way I approach it is educating somebody on a technology. We're never trying to sell somebody on it. It's just kind of relaying the facts of what's actually happening right now and letting people come to their own conclusions.
Right.
Sure.
Now, when we talk about volatility, I love that topic, especially right now. Would you say real estate is a bad asset to own with what has been happening over the last 12 months to real estate?
I saw what you just did there.
Well, no. I agree. Overall, I like where you're going, but overall, I think it's a good investment. Overall,
100%. Does every investment go up in a straight line?
No.
No. Volatility is the name of the game. If you have upside volatility, you're going to have downside volatility. Now, specifically with Bitcoin, you're not going to go from zero, worth absolutely no market value, to being worth over $1 billion market cap or $1 trillion market cap in a straight line. You're going to have adoption cycles. You're going to have ups. You're going to have downs. You're going to have market consolidations. And as has happened over the last 15 years. So volatility is something everyone needs to be very aware of when it comes to this asset. You shouldn't be buying with everything, with the money that you need tomorrow. You should understand that this asset class is very volatile. It does go through cycles, and knowing where you are in that asset cycle is going to help you out as well. But it is volatile. There's no getting away from that. And we're going to see even more volatility down the pipeline.
Yeah, sure. As you hear news stories, as you see about fraud and you see about regulation and all of these things that scare people on either side, you're going to see all of that. But the one thing that I think, at least for me, I'm caught up in is you went immediately to asset.
Right.
You didn't go to currency.
100%.
Which is what Bitcoin was supposed to be.
Okay.
And there's a couple of, there's certainly uses, there had been uses for it, right? Which ultimately, as far as I believe, or as far as I know, is it was supposed to help eliminate the middleman and keep fees in terms of transacting payments from one party to another, right? It was supposed to remove that middleman, remove those fees.
Correct.
And make it secure at the same time.
Right.
But we went just right into assets. And I don't think that that's really where we should have been going in the first place.
We can flip it. So a couple of things. We're always going to think about highest and best use, right? You guys are in real estate. You know what the highest and best use is going to be for something. Right. So the adoption cycle for it to play out, there are two use cases. There's store of value and medium of exchange. Now, medium of exchange is still being adopted at a breakneck speed right now. And I can tell you things that are happening right now that is fundamentally better than the banking system that we currently have, okay? It is making payments much faster. It is removing the third party from it, and it is speeding up the transactions that we have, not only within our own country and our own monetary network, but across borders. If you think about trying to wire somebody money outside of Canada. I'm going to stick to inside Canada, but even outside of Canada, if you try to do commerce with anyone that's not in your country, it is a nightmare. When you send a wire to somebody, you can have that wire sent and you might not have an update for 3 weeks. They just say, oh, well, we've sent the wire and we'll notify you whenever we get
And I know that because I'm wiring money down to Mexico right now and it just goes into this abyss. It's gone.
That's it.
And then eventually it appears.
That's it. Okay. All right. Fair enough. But you're going to tell me now, you're going to wire 100 Bitcoin to your daughter in Mexico, right? Okay, yeah, sure, no problem, Chris. But you're also going to expect that 100 Bitcoin remains the equivalent of 100 Bitcoins. Because when she gets it, I don't know, is it worth less? Is it worth more? And we talked about this volatility. Why would you do that?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be worth more once I send it to her. It's just based on where Bitcoin value is at that particular point in time.
Right, but what I'm saying is what it's worth at the time of receipt.
Got it.
So by the time the Bitcoin gets to where you're sending it to, what are the prices changed?
Well, no, not that's like a millisecond or I don't know, whatever time frame that is. I'm saying, hey, today hey, thanks, Dad. I'm gonna buy a pizza with that. And then tomorrow. It's I'm gonna buy I can buy a whole SUV with that. You know what I mean? Now I'm exaggerating.
Right.
I don't even know, to be honest. Maybe I'm not.
Right.
And then it's not an SUV now. It's
Right. You're talking about the volatility of it.
Well, sure. We just talked about that. But what I'm saying is despite the fact that you're going to go into a black hole with this wired. I mean, the money wired just disappears until she says, "Hey, Dad, I got it." Right. But you wouldn't wire Bitcoin, not today.
Why not?
I think you would. I don't see an issue with it.
I use it every single day.
It's verified very quickly.
It's real-time verification.
Sure.
Yeah. It is fundamentally better than the current system we have. Let's forget outside Canada.
I agree with that.
Let's forget outside Canada. Let's talk even inside Canada. We're in the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. So I've had a deal close 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm on the buyer side. So since 2 weeks, the listing office still doesn't have the paperwork or the commission. Because what happened? The lawyer who closed the deal had to sign a piece of paper saying this is worth money.
Right.
There was an error on it. It had to get sent back to him. They had to cancel that check and they still have to send it. So long story short, it's taken well over 2 weeks for all the parties involved in this transaction to get paid out on their deal.
Sure.
When it comes to Bitcoin, within an hour, you have final settlement. You can trade out into Canadian. That's what a lot of people are doing, is they're actually utilizing Bitcoin, the network. They may not believe in the asset. They might like, you know what, it's too volatile. A lot of issues with it. I don't want to secure it. I don't want to do this. But I can use the payment rails. I can send somebody the money and they can convert. Now you're going to have friction costs. You have friction costs with anything. But at the end of the day, it speeds up. Guys, even to this day, 2023, so you go give somebody a certified check and they're telling you we got to hold it for 5 days in 2023. So you've got a certified check where you paid an extra fee to make it certified. Then you take it to the bank, and unless you have a good relationship with them and you've done it on multiple transactions,
they still hold it.
They're holding it.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
So you're going to hold my hard-earned dollars. I can send you something, and there's no BSing on Bitcoin. So if I send Gary a transaction, he goes, "Okay, send me the transaction hash." Even if it hasn't been confirmed, he can get a real-time update of exactly where that transaction is.
So that's a good usage case, and of course in that short time frame, there's going to be minimal fluctuations. Presumably minimal fluctuations. Right. But I'm just kind of thinking in a longer time span. I'm just thinking that today I can buy, like I said, I could buy a computer, laptop. And then tomorrow, maybe I'm buying, something.
Yeah, and I think
considerably less.
I know where you're going with this, and I think
I would hold it. I would never send it.
Right. So I think this is what we talked about before we started here was the network effect.
Right.
There's just not enough people on it right now. That's why I think where you're getting the whole volatility. Am I correct there? Because once you get more people on it, once it's able to be used in other and more locations, whether it be I can go to Walmart, because that's what the problem is right now. I can't use it at Walmart.
Right.
I can't use it at,
You wouldn't use it at Walmart.
What's that?
You wouldn't use it at Walmart.
Well, because it's not available now.
No, because it's an asset. It's not a currency. We just talked about that. You wouldn't transact.
So again,
you don't transact an
highest
asset.
and best use. Your best use case to spend money in Canada, you can go to Tim Hortons right now and tap a card, and it's instantaneous. There is a fiat system that's been built over the last 40, 50 years on top of the internet, and it's made it very, very streamlined. When I'm talking about Bitcoin right now, I'm using it as an asset to send somebody. But other than that, your use case is going to be to store your value.
Right.
So why would I pay in Bitcoin if I can already pay in fiat? The highest and best use for my Bitcoin is just for it to be a store of value. The same way people buy real estate to save money over the long run. You're not going to sell that real estate to buy your car or whatever you're doing with it.
So maybe we should also clarify the difference between currency and money, an asset. Because so you're calling it a currency because a fiat is a currency.
Yes.
Bitcoin, you're calling it an asset. But would you also call it money?
So
because you know how you call gold is money.
So I think what we got to do is actually even bring it back even more so and simplify it in really, really simple terms.
Yeah, let's do that.
That is, what is Bitcoin? Is a technology.
Okay. All right. See, that's perfect. We like that.
By far, all it is a technology. The way the internet is a technology, computers, electricity, these are technologies that people can utilize to help make their lives easier and better. They only get adopted because they fundamentally improve somebody's life.
Okay.
The characteristics of the technology is what people are saying, oh, this is a good form of money because of such and such characteristics. The main characteristic being the fact that it is limited in supply.
Okay. So because it's limited in supply, is that what you're calling it, money, as opposed to currency?
It's a form of money. Yeah, it's not really a currency because the Tax Act is not favorable to using it as a currency. The tax laws are an absolute nightmare. If you're trying to pay, if you get paid in Bitcoin for invoices, you have to actually keep track of what was the Bitcoin worth then. Like, it's an accounting nightmare, right? Okay. So it's like getting paid for your day job in houses. It just doesn't make sense because the Tax Act has not caught up with it. So we tell people to not have a lot of transactions on it right now. Store it, save it for a long-term store vehicle. But like, it's not necessarily the best thing to go buy coffee with.
So then, is it speculative right now?
100%. There's speculation involved in it. When you understand what the technology is, you're going to say, okay. So there's two things. Number one, is this a real thing or is this a scam? Okay. Well, I can look into it. I can verify it. It's been up for 15 years straight. It has transacted billions of dollars across the world consistently for 15 years. It is a computer science breakthrough known as Nakamoto's consensus. All that really means is you can be halfway around the world. You can be in the North Pole. I could be in anywhere else. And we can still operate on a consensus mechanism, not knowing or having to trust each other. That is it. Right. Some way for all of us to connect and talk and transact on the internet. And we can all agree on what time it is, a decentralized clock, and an open ledger. That is it. That nobody can game and cheat on.
Okay. I think everybody can agree on that.
Right.
Right. I think that makes sense with the technology aspect, and at some point or other, it's going to, morph into something that will be more helpful. Once everybody starts to get on board and understands it, I can get behind that.
I think the big issue that I have right now with it, and why I'm not at 100%, is the fact, and you said the word just recently, is it's decentralized.
Right.
And banks want centralization.
Well, is it banks or is it government?
Government.
Yeah.
We call it the government, correct.
Yeah.
They want to centralize it. They want to control it.
Yep.
They want to manipulate it. They want to be able to print it.
Right.
They can't do that with that. They don't want to lose control. That is why I'm not 100% there yet. So what do you say to that?
So a couple of things. Number one, I know that they're not going to want to give up control, but an asset or an innovation has to be so powerful that even the strongest governments cannot prevent you from using this. Okay. All using Bitcoin is using a computer. It's math. It's computer science. You cannot ban it. You cannot get rid of it. I think it's really important for people to understand what it means if a government actually came in and said, you cannot own Bitcoin. What they're telling you in essence is you cannot own information in your mind. It is so above and beyond. It's like China has banned Bitcoin multiple times. They've also banned Google, Facebook. It hasn't done anything to the actual asset or the innovation of the protocol. Bitcoin is going to work regardless of what governments are going to say or do. We have 180 different governments around the world. They're all going to react differently to it. You've got some that are outright banning it, and you've got some saying, hey, this is a great technology that we want to utilize and bring it in for our people. So everyone's going to approach it a different way. Nobody can predict how every single government's going to, view Bitcoin. But in Canada, it is a legal asset to own. It is a commodity. It is recognized in the Tax Act. Any of the things coming down the pipeline with the Ontario Securities Commission is not about Bitcoin. It's about the cryptos in the ecosystem, which is full of scams and pump and dumps and Ponzi's, right? But the real innovation, they're not going to, because at the end of the day, it's like the government telling you, the internet is letting you spread too much information and you're getting too educated. We want to ban this. They tried banning the printing press when it first came out. Of course, the people in control always want to maintain their hold over what they've got. When the internet first came out, the newspaper people tried to put a hold on it, right? So the people in charge are always looking at kind of keeping their position. But at the end of the day, this is an innovation that people are going to continuously adopt because it genuinely improves their lives. It's just a technology, and it's just going to continue to get adopted.
So you just don't think we're there yet?
Oh, we're still years out.
Right? Because I mean, when you say it's something that's going to improve our lives, I mean, I don't know. I guess we're not all on board there yet.
Yep, I totally get it.
It's almost like seeing the birth of the internet in the beginning. Mm-hmm. You're dialing up. You're like, I'm never going to buy anything on this thing. Remember when they started going down that path of, I'm not going to trust this. I'm going to send money across the internet.
That's it.
Look at that now. Imagine now being a company and not being on the internet.
I remember going on to, what was...
America Online?
Well, no, I can't even remember the search engine at the time. And I'm sitting there, what the hell do I put in? What am I looking for?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If I could just come up with something, new music. I don't know, right at the time. And now we're searching for 1,000,001 things.
And that's something I really like to point out to people. Is internet's been around for 40 years. We saw it.
Yes.
We saw it. 56K modems.
We only saw it in 95 or so, 94.
Right. That's it. So look how long it took for it to really kind of even get that infrastructure.
Sure.
Who are the big companies that are using it right now? Like, who's adopting this?
So adoption-wise, Tesla has Bitcoin on their balance sheets. MicroStrategy is one of the most well-known companies that has really gone full steam ahead with their CEO with buying Bitcoin and holding on their balance sheets. Fidelity, I think they're the third biggest asset manager in the world. They've been involved in Bitcoin since 2015. BlackRock, which is the largest asset manager in the world, has just submitted an ETF for Bitcoin. So
that's huge.
It's huge. And again, 15 years is still nothing, because for the first 10, it was all grassroots adoption of just people saying, oh my God, this technology is amazing. Every single corporation, every single person was like, this is a scam. This is garbage. But they keep seeing market cycles play out, scams, FTX, all these crazy things happening. They go out and smoke, but Bitcoin is still chugging along. And it's like, okay, I got to take a closer look at this. What does this offer? What does it do? And what am I missing out on? And then you just start seeing people kind of come back around every market cycle, when the market cycle before, they're like, I'm not interested.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot more bigger names that are talking about it more often. You're hearing it a lot more regularly. I don't know. I think the big thing for me is that whole decentralization. I don't see how that is going to play out.
But that's the thing. It's decentralized and somebody can't control it. So the people in control aren't going to let me have it.
Okay. Obviously there's talks now that the government is going to come up with their own technology. So what am I looking for? CBDC.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Because listen, if they do, you think my dad's going to go get Bitcoin? My dad's going to go with whatever the government says they're going to use. So is your mom. So is auntie.
I would say for the most part, most people.
Right.
The CBDCs are going to be the biggest driver of Bitcoin adoption that you can even think of.
Why?
Okay. Because
he loves this one. He got the smile on his face. He's dying to tell us.
The CBDCs are going to give that legitimacy that our parents are going to say, yeah, of course, the government's going to be offering it to me. No problem.
Yep.
It makes the crypto world actual realistic to them. Like, okay, if the government's doing this, crypto in essence is not a scam, which 5 years ago, if you even said the word crypto, Bitcoin, they would just kind of recoil and disgust and be like, no, I'm not interested.
So you think that that'll give Bitcoin even more power, more steam?
But why Bitcoin as opposed to just the technology? Why would, again, if we can separate Bitcoin from the actual tech,
yes,
right? Why would dad adopt Bitcoin versus the technology for Canadian currency, right?
100%. So CBDCs are going to be a form of control for the government. That's not even it's not conspiracy. It's just, okay, eventually it will get to the point where, your credit score is not at a level you need to be. You can be prevented from having your money. The government's going to have, the government is getting rid of the middleman.
They can do that now.
But even more so control. Before, when the convoy happened and they wanted to shut everyone's accounts down, they put legislation down to the banks to say, we're going to shut your accounts down.
Okay.
Next time it'll just be like, press a button, cut it off.
Sure.
The main differentiation in what Bitcoin is and the rest of the innovation is Bitcoin is a blockchain. Everyone says, I'm interested in blockchain, but blockchain is just a database. That's literally what it is. Blockchains have been around since the 70s. What makes Bitcoin such an amazing innovation is the fact that it is a blockchain that none of us control and all of us can see. You cannot cheat on Bitcoin because it is decentralized and it is open and updates in real time. Imagine having a ledger that updated every single 10 minutes. And you can verify it in real time. You cannot bullshit somebody on the blockchain. So that's the real innovation. So when somebody's coming in and telling you, I've got another blockchain for you, they're just coming up with another idea of trying to put themselves in the position of control of that blockchain. Mm-hmm. Nobody controls Bitcoin. Nobody can do, or we're never going to see it happen again, because now it's that 0 to 1. It's that innovation came out. We've seen a whole bunch of copycats and people preying on the general public that doesn't know any better, right?
So I guess there's one way that you could do this. So if I really then got onto the whole bandwagon, I'm 100% in, that I really believe in Bitcoin, I could put my money in there. It starts to grow and it just takes off.
Right.
I could take that money out and then put it into a CBDC.
You could do whatever you want with it.
So essentially, if I believe in this technology and I think it's going to be so much stronger than whatever we're using today, it's almost like my pension or a forced savings of something I believe in.
I would say even more so, instead of phrasing in the sense of, you don't have to be 100% on it. Don't phrase in the sense of, I need to be, you should be at 25%, you should be at 75%. Everyone will be at a percentage of what their comfort level is at. And your 25% was higher than what it was when we first Matt, right?
Potentially.
And, right? And it's just going to continuously grow.
Right.
My only suggestion to people is, first of all, Bitcoin only. Crypto and Bitcoin are two completely different things. And I think that's something we have to continuously hammer home to
Yeah,
let people
maybe we'll
understand,
touch on that.
right?
We'll touch on that.
So Bitcoin versus crypto, understand the difference. It is not a get rich quick scheme.
Because that's what everybody thinks that
100%,
it is.
exactly.
Over the last, 3 years, get rich quick.
Even beyond, NFTs, all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
even beyond that, have a non-zero allocation. That is it. The only wrong allocation right now, by looking at the data in front of you and seeing an asset that's performing the way it has, 110% on the year. No one's talking about it. It is the best performing asset of 2023.
Yeah.
By far.
Let's go into that.
Right?
So it went down to 16,000.
16,000. Now we're at 3740, we're hovering around that area. So have a non-zero allocation and have an allocation that you're not freaking out at price drops, because it is a volatile asset. But looking at everything around you, there should be no reason why somebody should have a 0%
I agree with
allocation
that.
of Bitcoin.
I agree with
That's
that.
the only thing I tell
That's
people.
the one thing I'm 100% on.
That's it. Have exposure to it and then get comfortable and educate yourself and ask questions, because it is such a paradigm shifting thing. You're not going to get it all in one shot. It's impossible.
What about the environmental piece of it? You hear people talking about that and it using up a significant amount of energy.
Right. So they speak of it as if the energy intensity is a bad thing, but that's actually what makes Bitcoin so powerful. It's proof of work, okay? Because it's a digital asset and it actually has no tangible ability for you to touch it. The only way you can actually measure the effect of Bitcoin is its energy consumption. So when I look at a chart, I can say, yes, it's over 450 exahash, which is an insane amount of computing power. That energy usage is what's actually making it real and tangible.
You're backing it
in the internet,
because fiat is also basically based on work, right?
Fiat is based on the opposite in the sense of fiat, you can print more by pressing a button.
Well, yeah, okay, but I mean, it's still backed by something, right? It's not backed by gold right now.
Backed by nothing.
No, sure it is. Sure
What's
it is.
backed by? Well, like the government, I guess you can say. So in confidence.
So it's backed. Yes, the government says that, hey, we're going to give you, it's worth this much, but it's also proof of work as well, right? There's an exchange, and it's not just because I believe it, because there's an amount of work that goes into $1 or $2, and you believe that amount of work is worth $1 or $2. So you'll trade it based on that. And I understand what you're saying as far as Bitcoin, the mining,
Right.
being a proof of work, because there was something put into that and therefore backs the value.
Right.
Right.
So
do you
But I'm
see
trying to
where
understand where you're going with what is the fiat currency backed by. The only thing I can think of right now that is backed by would be the military power of the U.S. What else is it backed by?
That's the petrodollar system is backed by the United States military.
That's it.
Right.
Other than that, it's not backed by anything else
Right.
that I can think of. It used to be backed by gold.
Now, a couple points to what you said there.
Yeah.
So it costs the government the same amount of energy, effort, and intensity for them to print $100,000 than it does for $1 trillion. It's literally just digits on a screen.
Sure.
For me, when you ask somebody, it's like, okay, you work set hours, you bust your ass, you work, you get exchanged your time for money. In this system, for some reason, we've all been programmed to say, yeah, but it's okay for this one entity who's just knows everything and is doing it all for us, has the ability to print money at whim. Right. This thing that I'm trading my time for, this other entity just gets to snap their fingers and create more of. It is an inherently flawed system. Money has always had to have some sort of backing, but over the last 50 years, we've been programmed. Again, I say programmed because it is just being told this is the way it should be. Your money should have some sort of semblance to connection and anchor to reality.
I would almost call it a Ponzi scheme.
That's what
we're in right now.
If you define what we're doing without the government being involved, you're like, oh, this is a Ponzi.
It's a Ponzi scheme. And this is one of the reasons why we're so heavy into real estate.
Okay, just go back to the Ponzi. Just go back to fiat currency.
Sure.
As a Ponzi scheme.
As a Ponzi scheme. The reason why it's a Ponzi scheme is because in 1971, there was a time when the fiat currency was backed by gold, which they considered money.
Sure.
Then because of the Vietnam War, and they had to print more money, they then removed the fiat currency off of the gold.
Out of the gold, yeah.
And then now they could just print as much as they want.
Sure.
Now, the one thing that's backing it is the military power and also the petrodollar.
Okay.
Right? But they can just keep printing. They can just keep printing, and that's why you get inflation. So now, if you take a look at go back to the 70s, and what your income would be or what you get paid per hour, and then relate that now to what the price of homes is and what you're getting paid per hour, you should be getting way more. And it's because of the printing of money.
Well, okay. But if you go back to the point where
Yep.
Gold was backing the dollar, you still had you still wouldn't have been able to buy a house for that same point, that same dollar that you could, I don't know, 30 years prior, right? I mean, just if you look at gold proper, right, that also goes up or had gone up.
It does.
So I'm not really certain that that's the end all, right? That it's just you know. What I'm just trying to say is I think there's more things at play, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
Than just that one fact.
Right. Okay. So let's look at it from this standpoint then. Go back to Roman Empire times, and you could buy a toga, a sandals, and a haircut for 1 ounce of gold. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now you go to the 1970s. Okay. 1970s, gold was what, $300 an ounce, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. You could buy what? A nice haircut, nice suit, and a pair of shoes. Okay. How much is gold
All right,
now?
sure.
I haven't checked.
About 2,000.
2,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's that going to
2,000,
get you? A nice suit,
Yep.
nice pair of shoes, and a haircut. So what's holding its value? It's the gold.
That's it.
It's not the fiat currency because they keep printing it.
Well, look, just ask yourself, do I want to get paid? And again, monetary policy is a whole rabbit hole that
Sure,
we can get into
sure.
as well, right? And like Bitcoin obviously opens you up to it. But at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, when I get paid, do I want to get paid in something that is easy to duplicate, very, very abundant, and that somebody can just press a button and make more of? Or do I want to get paid in something that is difficult to make more of, impossible to counterfeit, and very valuable in its scarcity? Right? We are on a system, and again, it's not just Canada. This is once the United States came off the gold peg, the entire central banks around all the other 150 plus central banks did the exact same thing. Like, okay, if the States, which is the leading economy in the entire country or in the entire world, is doing this, then we can. So now everyone is just kind of like free falling with this crazy monetary policy. We've never in the history of mankind have we seen debt at the levels that they're at. Inflation is rampant. Nobody can debate the fact that no, inflation is not an issue, but we're programmed to believe, oh yeah, our inflation, as long as it's 2%, is healthy. Well, what made it 2%, right? And how often have they been able to actually hit 2%? And the way they calculate inflation. Look at the real estate prices. Real estate is a very good idea of showing you how inflation is happening around the world. Since 2017, we've seen inflation, but it was for residential inflation. Right. Now it's for healthcare inflation. University costs continuously go up.
And this is where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And the rich are going to get richer, not because they're working harder, but because they're holding assets, like real assets and land.
Right. So that is a different topic in the sense of you should understand what's happening in the economy around you, and the monetary system is really, really messed up. And like UBI and CBDCs are coming down the pipeline. There is no other way.
What about the security risk of it, though? Now, like who's going to monitor this for me? Like, I put my money in the bank and I've got some security there. What about this? Am I looking after it myself?
We recommend it, and we do a lot of consulting with people to educate them. Again, it's a very, very steep learning curve. And as long as you understand where you're headed, do not do it all overnight. First and foremost, you're going to get exposure. How do I get exposure? Just buy some off of an exchange and leave it on there. But again, what really separates Bitcoin from everything else is the term, not your keys, not your coins. And what that means is if you have to ask someone else to sign that transaction or to send you your Bitcoin, it's not your Bitcoin. That is the beauty of Bitcoin in and of itself, is no one can prevent you or censor or reverse any of your transactions. Every single person on the Bitcoin network has the exact same fundamental rights as everybody else.
If I keep my Bitcoin on the network or in an exchange, is it exposed? Should I be putting it into a, what do you call, like a wallet or a cold wallet?
You should take possession of it, cold storage or even hot storage. Well, again, there's a steep learning curve on that. But what happened with FTX? A large amount of people thought I had 10 Bitcoins on my FTX platform. Right. Well, no, all you had was digits on a screen, and you believed this random third-party company that was straight up a fraudulent company, right? They had all the biggest celebrities advertising them, and nobody knew. And then finally, it collapsed. If you didn't have your Bitcoin on their exchange and you had possession of it yourself, FTX's crash did nothing to you because you had your own keys. So that is the main issue that with Bitcoin, the real value proposition is when you own it and you hold your own keys, nobody else can control it.
Okay.
So what happened? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, are we going to lead into your business?
We can talk about that later, but like for now, I'd rather just.
Well, I'm just, the only reason I'm saying that is just because we were trying to get into, or we were just, getting into the exchange.
Right.
Exchanges. That's all.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later.
Okay. I had a question. I just lost it there, but it was in regards to the whole security piece of it. I just can't remember right now.
Yeah, we were just talking about, taking possession of your Bitcoin, not leaving it out there on the exchange.
Right. Like when you have your own wallet and you receive a transaction, not only is that wallet on your phone, but then when you check that exact same address on a blockchain explorer on another computer, you can see that.
It's there.
It's a real-time update.
This is my question. So then now, I guarantee, well, it's already happened anyways, I forget my phrase.
Right.
Because a 12-word phrase. Okay. That money's gone.
Yep.
Yeah. Or
how much have we lost so far in Bitcoin?
Or I drop my my hard drive into a landfill, right?
Yeah.
And then now I got to pay people to go and fetch it because I got $300 million worth of Bitcoin, like that guy in the UK.
Right.
Yep.
It's gone. It's gone forever.
We've all heard those stories, and it is a very real issue. And that's why personal responsibility really comes into play when it comes to Bitcoin. At the end of the day, you have to understand there is nobody to come and save you. This is
This is it.
So you have to be very, very cautious and understand how much you have. If you have like $100, you're just playing around with it. You have to understand what you're doing. If you have $1 million worth, you have to have processes in place. God forbid something happens to you and you're incapacitated. How does your family get access to that?
Well, what's his face? Passes away in India. Well, what's his face?
The Quadriga guy. I still think that was the setup.
Sure.
Right.
It sounds too good to be
Which
true.
guy are we talking about?
Quadriga CX. He was the CEO of the biggest Canadian exchange. He actually took.
Okay.
I learned the hard way. Not your keys, not your coin.
Oh,
right? I
okay.
had some on there.
Really?
Right. I was just buying. I thought, it's like when you're buying with a bank account or something like that. But then you realize, it defeats the whole purpose. That's not actually Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So when you buy it, the number one goal is withdraw it and take possession of it yourself. Okay. There are issues. Nothing is 100% secure. Right, you have to have a lot of contingencies in place, but depending on how big your stack is, you're going to do more and more things to protect yourself.
Right. Well, the thing is, we used to think Bitcoin was anonymous too, right? But it's obvious. At least I thought it touted itself as, "Hey, this is anonymous."
Right.
But it really isn't.
It is not anonymous at all.
Which is really incredible to hear that the government can, find out who you are and recoup a lot of this stolen money.
It is an immutable ledger. So every transaction that you ever have done on the Bitcoin network, if somebody really looks into it, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, they'll be able to find it. Now, when you look at the Bitcoin network, you just see thousands of transactions with a lot of gibberish. The key is if you can identify one transaction that you're involved in, then you can kind of start piecemealing together.
Also, you can see every transaction on the network that I've done.
Right.
Yeah.
Now there's
we won't know that it's you unless like you were saying, you kind of piece them together. Okay, that transaction and this transaction and link them all together. Right.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
So now I'm buying porn or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You could trace that.
Not necessarily. Look, there's going to be a lot of ways. There's going to be a lot of ways to kind of mitigate.
I'm not saying I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but then I know you were at Walmart at this time, at this date, at this time, and you bought something else with Bitcoin. And
Correct.
okay, well, all right, now I can go back and see the.
That's why privacy is very important for people. And again, where we're at with Bitcoin is only 15 years in. Where it's going to be in the next 15, 20 years, I can only imagine.
Anybody's guess.
So you think they can tighten up the security on that?
Look, there's going to be things happening on higher levels. Like right now, L1, layer 1, which is what is happening on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's something you're not going to see any change to. That is ossified. That is the protocol is the protocol. You will not be able to change it. Okay. But then there's layers above that where there's a lot of companies working on. It's like the internet, the same way.
Got it. So you're going to see more. So more regulation is going to be good for Bitcoin. You want more regulation. You want more layers of security put on this.
I think regulation will bring legitimacy to a lot of people's minds, right? Because right now it's kind of wild, wild west, right?
And it's getting more legitimate now as the regulations are coming into play. This is why BlackRock is here with their ETF, because for the longest time, a lot of the big companies were sitting on the sidelines because they didn't see any regulation. They wanted to kind of understand. Now that regulations kind of come down the pipeline, you understand cryptos are securities. They were always being offered to the public like the next Bitcoin or, the new and improved or whatever. And all it was preying on the public. So now we've got that. If any exchange is selling securities like Ripple and all these, there's thousands of other coins, right? So legislation was very important on that front. So we always knew that legislation was coming down the pipeline, and it's good because it's not the government saying you can't interact with this. It's just now saying, okay, Bitcoin is a commodity. We view this as you would gold. Everything else is a security, and you have to get registered, and the same kind of disclosures you have to have with other stocks.
Right.
So the regulation is good, and it's bringing maturity to the ecosystem.
So it's not just about crime, money laundering, and illegitimate affairs anymore.
No.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I mean, look, man, you get that in fiat currency.
Well, that's it.
Right.
How much money laundering takes place with the real estate ecosystem in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Like they've done reports. RCMP knows there's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of money laundering happening in Canada over the last 10 years. Yeah. It's happening.
But
the laws being established.
But that's how it started, right? I mean, it started because, hey, I'm trying to buy drugs off the internet. I mean,
use cases, yeah. Oh,
yeah. That's what I mean. Use case, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So now it's okay. Well, everybody's going back to that point, and then of course you got the get rich quick schemes, and I think for the vast majority of people, Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever other coins you want to,
there's thousands,
all the same thing.
Yep. Is there corruption right now going on in Bitcoin? Is there a lot of it?
In the ecosystem, there's tons of corruption. It's a wild west, right? Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of different companies. Like FTX was insane, the scope of the scam and the fact that it got so big so quickly. But again, it's very important to understand Bitcoin is the innovation. Bitcoin is the money of the internet. Okay, it's an actual tech. Crypto is everything else. It's all the businesses around Bitcoin that's being built around the internet. So with the internet adopting, Facebook, Google, all these companies came out, but there was also a bunch of big scams. There was Enron, there was Pets.com, all these things that went to zero. So the ecosystem is still maturing. I think we're seeing the big boys kind of come into play now. Now they're seeing the regulation come into play, and a lot of the companies here, Fidelity, BlackRock, like they're not going anywhere, right? So,
are the banks scared?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you don't need the banks.
Nope.
If you end up going down this route, why would you need them?
The banks are walking dinosaurs. And I'll say that, and I said to my friends who work for the banks, who always mock and laugh at Bitcoin, I tell them, you guys are the newspaper companies in the dawn of the internet age. Mm-hmm. They're going to be completely upturned, and they just cannot physically compete because their setup is completely different than what Bitcoin is. So yeah, they're scared.
I mean, imagine if Apple, I'm sure they probably will, took on the cryptocurrency or the blockchain technology.
Right.
They're already ahead of the curve. That they've got it. Boom, tapping on my phone. Boom, boom, boom. And if you do go with a CBDC, why do you need the banks?
Yep. I think you're going to see a variety of CBDCs.
Am I going down the right path here?
Somewhat. At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in the fact that it's going to be Bitcoin. People are going to try. They're going to experiment. They're always going to find a way. It's like when the internet first came out, there was the internet, and then you've got Rogers saying, use the Rogers net, where you just fundamentally, the internet is wide open and you have people voluntarily working together, whereas Rogers Net is a walled garden that Rogers has made that they're advertising, and it's just they're in charge.
So kind of like Yahoo, Bing, Google, and all of a sudden it was just one dominant winner.
But the stack that they're operating under is the internet. Bitcoin is just a way for me to transfer value from me to you over the internet. It's a way to transfer value over a communication channel.
It's the highway.
That's it.
It's the highway, and so the highway is being built, and it just you don't have enough off ramps yet. Is that
I would say
good
so. Yeah,
analogy?
I think the off ramps are growing. I think the use cases are growing even more so in the ecosystem, in the sense of the things that we're finding out people using Bitcoin for, where they didn't even feel that there was an opportunity to use it. Now, again, the way I'm explaining that is with real estate, the way commissions get paid out, the way things get paid out to everyone involved. It's going to get so much faster because there's not going to be a 5-day hold. You're not waiting. We're closed on weekends, so we don't have anything. It is 24/7, 365. It's like everything is built around the postal system, and we've got email. And now we're just trying to educate people of like, hey guys, there's a way to do this so much faster. You don't have to wait 5 days to receive this letter in the mail. You could just click a button, they'll receive it instantaneously.
Paint your future for me. Where do you see it happening? Do you know, or is it kind of speculative, or you're like, nope, this is where we're going? I feel pretty confident this is where we're going to be.
At the end of the day, the only thing that I'm confident of is the fact that this is a technology that's going to continue to get adopted. And when you ask somebody, what's the internet? Well, what's the internet to somebody who streams all day versus somebody who sends, everyone's got a different use case. It's this massive network, and it's going to revolutionize every single facet of our lives. The same way Bitcoin or the internet did, Bitcoin is going to have the same ramifications, if not more. How each company or each country is going to adopt it and what's going to happen down the pipeline, I have no idea. Price predictions, I don't know. The only thing I know is more people are going to use this technology in a year from now, and more people are going to use it in 5 and 10. My kid's not going to know the term banking hours or banking days. What do you mean a banking day? I have to or going into the bank to do something, right? Things are changing.
Right. So you said that the banks are going to be dinosaurs. What do you mean by that? They're done, or there'll just be a certain aspect of the banking system that will still continue to use?
Well, I'm more interested in the time frame that you believe that this is going to happen in.
I honestly have no idea. Time frame wise, it could be 5, 10, 15 years. People are going to adopt Bitcoin for a variety of reasons. Number one, speculation. Somebody sees an opportunity and says, I see this highest and best use being a lot bigger down the road. Speculation is one thing. Convenience is another. This is a lot easier. Why am I going to use this? No one's going to use Bitcoin once and then go back to the regular banking system and say, I don't mind a 5-day hold. You want things now, especially this day of everything being done right now. But then the third reason is necessity. There's a lot of places in Canada we're comfortable. We've got our inflation is still 6, 8, 10%. You've got countries around the world where they've got 30, 40, 50% inflation year over year. So they're going to end up finding Bitcoin because they need it to survive. So everyone's got a different motivation. So time frame wise, I really don't know. But I do believe in the next 10, 20 years, Bitcoin will be very, very predominantly used across the board with everyone.
Yeah. It'll definitely. Well, I agree with you with the fact that it'll be very different. Right. I think it's going to be. I don't know which way it's going to go, but it'll be very different.
So okay. So then to me that begs a question. Then why do I need Bitcoin now? I mean, if I'm going to have it and it's going to be straightened out, let's call it in 15, 20 years, whatever the time frame is.
Right.
What's the case? Why do I need it now? I mean, beyond the fact that I'm trying to get rich quick. Or I'm trying to get rich, period. What's the value of it today to me?
Okay. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about not going poor slowly. And at the end of the day, if you understand the insidious effects of inflation and how they affect all of us, and I think everybody more and more is realizing it when they look around them, that something isn't right. It's like you're running on a treadmill. Everything's getting more expensive. Wages aren't keeping up with it. And things are just getting out of hand. This is a savings tool. Bitcoin is what's going to turn things back around in the sense of it is making savings cool again. We haven't had a proper savings vehicle in years. Putting money in a GIC is crazy because at the end of the day, inflation is going to be bigger than what your GIC is actually paying you off.
Fair, yeah.
Right? So you're motivated not to invest or save, to invest. You're always chasing returns higher than inflation. So I think what more people are going to understand is they can take control of their own savings. And while it's only going to be 1% of their paycheck or 5 or whatever you're comfortable with, it is going to be a way where you can allocate your hard-earned money that you're exchanging your time for to put it into an asset that nobody can dilute or steal.
Do you think that? I guess the reason I was asking that is because it sounds to me like Bitcoin is going to go through a whole lot of evolution between now and some given time, and that's why I say, why do I need to commit now versus later? That was really the basis for the question. That's
my thing is, I think you should look around and say, okay, what's been happening over 15 years? And look, some people might say it's still too risky for them. But when Bitcoin is at 100,000 or when it's eventually at 150 or 200, where it's going to get to a point where they're like, okay, I should get some exposure. Everyone's going to be at a different point for them. And any technology adoption cycle, you see the early adopters, you see the middle group, and you see the laggards, the ones that will literally not take it on until they just literally have to. There's no other option. Everyone's going to fall at a different point of that adoption cycle.
So, okay, now this is going to be a silly question. Question, but I'm curious.
Yep.
All right. Right now, we got a lot of destitution, right? But the government is handing out money, right? Despite, whatever you think, inflation, all that stuff, right? But the government's handing out money. Okay, so now we have it all decentralized. The government's not involved. It's straight Bitcoin. And yet we still have destitution.
Right.
Okay. I'm living in a tent. Where do I get my welfare?
So I think the thing to understand is...
Do you like that question?
That's a good question.
We're not trying to get the government out of Bitcoin. That's a very common misconception.
Okay.
The government should be using Bitcoin. the government should be utilizing this amazing technology. Why does my government not have Bitcoin? Why do my pensions not have Bitcoin on their balance sheets?
Okay,
There's going to be more of a push
interesting
to say you should be adopting this. Why are you not adopting it? But I think the most important thing is it's going to give a lot of government skin in the game in the sense that you have to actually have common sense fiscal policy. You can't just press a button and print billions of dollars and wax poetically about how you're trying to help. All this monetary policies they've been doing, they have no anchor to reality, so they're not paying for their consequences. So at the end of the day, Bitcoin is going to make sure that good governance is going to be rewarded and bad governance will be punished. So yeah, there's going to be some governments that are going to be like, oh shit, like we didn't budget properly, right? So even the Canadian dollar, eventually it's going to get pegged to something. I think it should be, why not have Bitcoin in our, Canadians don't have gold in our accounts anymore. We don't have, central bank doesn't own gold anymore. Right. So I don't like to tell people that I don't want government out of Bitcoin. No, I want them in there. I want when a government has their budget to see where did you spend all that money? Who saw that Christopher Freeland interview? She's being interviewed by the Senate and they're asking about a $2 billion budget that she's gotten for some, climate change initiative. And they couldn't break anything down. It's just like, oh, it's just $2 billion. And it was just kind of so nonchalant. Yeah. It's like, no, it will give you have to respond to everything and everything is an open ledger. It's like, okay, explain to us where our money's going.
Right.
So I think the government is going to adopt Bitcoin just the same way the government uses the internet.
Do you listen to Jeff Booth at all?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. There's one thing that he had talked about. I thought was actually very interesting. He goes, one of the economic rules is prices fall to the marginal cost of production.
Yep.
Have you heard about that, Chris?
No, I mean, I understand what he's saying, but I hadn't heard that.
So essentially, if a first calculator, okay, fine, whatever, it costs you $20, $30, whatever it is. Now on an app on your phone, well, what does a calculator cost you?
Right.
It's free.
Yep.
Because there's so much competition, technology is getting better. So you would never pay $10 for a calculator because why would you? And I think, and so I'm probably going to butcher this a little bit, but essentially, because of technology, things should be falling in price as opposed to getting more expensive. Mm-hmm. And then that's the problem with fiat currencies. When you print so much, it's devaluing the dollar, where Bitcoin does the reverse. It actually shows you what's truly happening with technology, that things are getting cheaper.
We are living in a time where we have the most, life is beautiful in the sense of technological advances, so many things going well, but yet you look around you and things are getting much more difficult. And it's more challenging and costs are increasing. And you have to look at yourself and say, okay, forget political parties and who's in charge. It's just maybe the fact that printing money out of thin air has some adverse effects that we didn't really think were going to be that bad. And while some people were calling for it, here's a beautiful thing. People have been saying Keynesian economics or printing money out of thin air is going to have bad side effects. They've always been shouted down. They've always been said they're kooks, that they don't know what they're talking about. Well, now it's no longer theory. Now we can watch an asset that cannot be diluted and you cannot counterfeit and print more of. And you've got 180 currencies out there that have no backing to it and they just can be printed more of. Now we can watch the free market do what they're going to do. And everyone can decide. And that's where the currency aspect comes in the sense of humans start looking around them saying, okay, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. They keep printing more, things are getting more expensive, real estate's more expensive, and all this crazy stuff's happening. And yet this random innovation that everyone has been saying is a scam continues to just chug along and maintain value. And more people are gonna say, okay, maybe I should have some sort of exposure to this, right? And it just all starts with, again, getting more comfortable. Nobody thinks Bitcoin's a good idea the first time they heard about it. Mm-hmm. Nobody. I didn't. Everyone thinks it's a scam. Everyone brushes it off. But the fact that you keep hearing about it 7, 8, 10 times, and you're like, okay, let me take a closer look at this, right? So it's just a tech, and it's a technology that we need very badly with the financial situation that we've got around us in Canada, United States, and everywhere else, where people are going to start saying, oh, wait, this is a viable option for me to protect myself from governments going crazy with this money printing.
Right. Let's talk about your business. Let's spend some time on this here now. So you created your own exchange.
I did.
Explain that. For somebody who's new and they're like, what do you mean you started your own exchange?
So I fell down the rabbit hole, got obsessed, wouldn't stop talking about Bitcoin. All my friends and family were like, stop talking to us about this,
Do your friends and family have Bitcoin?
Oh, a majority of them.
Majority of them? Okay.
Yeah. But I also again, I've been in it for a while and a lot of people get annoyed with Bitcoiners because we're so enthusiastic. We're like, you got to take a look at this, right?
Sure.
But it's because we see something and we're like, guys, get rid of the skepticism and just kind of take a closer look at this because this really is a solution with how crazy things are. So I did over my years try to, we call it orange pill, a lot of my friends and family. Some have listened, some haven't, some end up going down the crypto path. And I said, good luck. But I ended up realizing I would get connected to a lot of people in the ecosystem where they say they're into Bitcoin, but they would be trying to sell me Ethereum or Ripple or all these countless other stuff. And I just always knew that Bitcoin was really the innovation. And so we ended up saying, hey, if I like talking about it, why not create a company? And then 3 years ago, we started with the idea, and now we're a full-blown, exchange with a bunch of services on it.
Yeah, I use your services. I got my Bitcoin in there.
I love it.
Yeah. So, and how's it been going? How's business? Are you getting more people
it's
adopting it?
Yeah, it's very cyclical because again, right now, prices starting to pick back up, so you start seeing volume again. Number go up, technology is what we laugh is what brings everybody in. Everyone just kind of, what's it at now?
Yeah, once it goes up, it's all high. We were just talking about that earlier, right? It's not even in the news cycle anymore. I haven't heard of Bitcoin in a long time on the news.
Yeah.
So we have our consistent buyers, and then people kind of disappear when the market crashes. But then you've always got those people that stick around and like, okay, it dropped, but there's fundamental reasons behind this, and we've got a bunch of resources. Our main goal is to educate.
Right.
That's at the end of the day. It's just kind of like understand what this tool is. You decide how you want to approach it. Just know Bitcoin only. Don't get sucked into the pump and dumps and all that like scams. And it's a long-term store of value. Don't think you're going to get rich overnight.
Onebitcoin.ca.
Onebitcoin.ca. The number one, bitcoin.ca.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's next? What kind of innovations you got coming down the pipeline for that?
We are just bringing more services for the general public to make it easier for them to be able to buy and sell and accept Bitcoin. So what we've got is a lot of people, for business owners who aren't really Bitcoiners, but we've got a new invoice functionality that's going to be able to, a lot of Bitcoiners like to spend money at other Bitcoin companies. So it'll be able to invoice a company, but you get paid out in Canadian. Right? We've got a real estate service right now. So when you sell your home, it's going to streamline the process of taking a little bit of that equity or all of it, whatever you decide to buy Bitcoin. So we're just opening up more and more different channels and avenues to make it easier for people to transact, buy, hold, and store. We do a lot of consulting and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Is your wife on board?
She is now, she doesn't know, like talk a lot about Bitcoin, but she kind of knows, okay, he knows what he's doing. And but first couple of years was, she thought like I was getting scammed, right? Like the same thing everyone thinks, like, oh my God, he's getting sucked into some MLM or some sort of like crypto scam, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because I do hear a lot of other people like, oh, this is the one, this new crypto coin that's like the new NFT or something like that. But now she's on board in the sense she goes,
okay,
Bitcoin's here to stay.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I know when I got into real estate, people at my work thought I was getting, like, why are you buying so many properties? The market's going to crash. You're going to lose everything.
That's it.
But I think once you believe in it, and I think I'm slowly getting there. How are you feeling? I mean, look, it's just a conversation right now, but
I mean, listen, there's still a lot of things that I can't wrap my head around. I mean, look, I can't deny that there's some, background technology there that will be useful. I think I still think I'm not confused. Conflicted is probably the better word. I still think I'm conflicted between the fact that, well, look, it's called Bitcoin, yet it's not really a currency or a coin, right? So maybe there's a little confusion there, but it becomes an asset, and I'm coming back to, transferring money, right? Because, we're talking about the exchange. So if I'm exchanging, and I still don't understand why I would buy something with Bitcoin realistically, because if I buy $100 worth of whatever, with Bitcoin, I'm paying through Bitcoin. You're going to hold it. You're going to hold it indefinitely.
Okay.
Assuming I'm going to get the cash for that, $100, right? I'm going to get $100. My $100 is going to deflate, gone. Okay. And, I don't know, a couple of years, I'm going to hold it, let's just say. And now my $100 is worth 75.
Okay.
But your $100 in Bitcoin is worth 150, 200 bucks, right?
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense to me why I would transact, because I'm going to lose and you're going to gain. So
look, when we had to order ATMs, Bitcoin ATMs, right?
Yeah.
The company was in the Czech Republic. Imagine if I had tried to use the conventional financial system to try and pay somebody in Europe.
Okay,
It would have been $45.
We don't have interact.
You're outside the network.
Yes.
What I was able to do, I scanned a QR code, I pressed a couple buttons, I sent it to him. It was gone. I knew he had received it, and I got the confirmations in real time. Okay. It is, you're only going to utilize, at the end of the day, I don't tell people, don't spend it, especially if you only have like a 1% allocation. That's not the allocation you're going to use to buy your coffee or your car or whatever like that.
Right.
That's your allocation that you would have for gold or for specific stock or whatever. Right.
Use it as a store of value for now. That's what it sounds like you're saying. That's the message.
Huge exposure and you're 100% into it and you have nothing else to spend, you're going to ride it out and you're going to have some of the, again, it's not, the adoption isn't where it needs to be still, right? This is like using the internet when it was only 15 years old. Not everyone's on that network. Whereas now you can build a website by putting a couple prompts in ChatGPT and you're creating websites. So we still have a ways to go. At the end of the day, I just tell people, look, it's an innovation that is something online that you cannot copy and paste.
Right. Jacob, listen, we're at the end here, brother. I appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely.
It was a good conversation.
Thanks for having me in.
Yeah. If somebody is listening to this, two things. Where do they start? And how can they get in touch with you if they want to learn more or even get into Bitcoin?
So onebitcoin.ca, we've got a resources section with a whole bunch of information on educating people on what they need to know when they're new to Bitcoin. And then if you have any questions, we've got an amazing contact us there, help@onebitcoin.ca. We've got amazing staff that are always willing and able to kind of answer questions and guide people. And yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. I don't tell anyone, never have more exposure than what you're comfortable with. Start off with something small, play with it, use it, download a Bitcoin wallet, send a transaction, because once you use it, you kind of get a better understanding of what this technology is.
Yeah. Is there a book that you read or a podcast you listened to that's like, I get it?
Everyone reacts differently to these guys. So Michael Saylor, Andreas Antonopoulos, Saif Dinamus, they all come from different backgrounds. Saif Din's more of an economist. Yes, amazing book.
That's what I got right here.
Have you read that yet?
Yeah, well, I'm about halfway through.
Okay,
and you're still only at 25%?
No. Again, listen, I don't misunderstand. I'm at the 25% if for the currency aspect of it. That retarded.
Yeah.
I'm taught the asset aspect of it. I understand it. Hey, I buy it now. It's going to be worth more. What more is there to understand?
Right.
I totally get that. And as long as it continues on, I'm very pleased. It's just the pump and dump stuff and the NFT stuff and all that stuff that falls off the cliff. That hurts. That hurts.
Ignore the crypto scene. Don't get involved in it. They're all centralized. It's companies. You're buying into VC-backed entities that are, fooling you, saying it's decentralized innovation, all that kind of stuff. Bitcoin is the real innovation. So don't chase those things and just focus on Bitcoin only and educate yourself on it, and you'll do fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, just like everyone else, I try to learn.
That's it.
Jacob, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sitting down on this one.
Guys,
It was
appreciate
fun.
it.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.